All right, everyone, let's talk about a guy. He's been no stranger to our discussions on the show, Shedeur Sanders. He was selected in the fifth round by the Cleveland Browns. I know we talked about this a lot from Thursday, Friday on into Saturday when he was selected, of course, the weeks and months before that. How do you feel about this whole situation with Shedeur going, I think, pick 140 something, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, man. Like you said, we were texting back and forth about it throughout the weekend. Honestly, after the second day, I was thinking he might not even get drafted. I was just shocked, kind of like speechless, just the whole scenario that was going on. I'm interested to see how the ratings for this draft was because I feel like Shedeur Sanders was basically the topic of discussion even after he was drafted. I feel like people were probably tuning in the draft just to see, okay, is he going to get picked or is he going to go undrafted? So I'm interested to see if the ratings like spiked this year for the draft compared to other years. But back to him being drafted, man, I think NFL try to make an example saying, no one's bigger than the shield. No one person is going to be bigger than the NFL, and we're going to make an example out of Shedeur Sanders and the Sanders family. Um, I want to say they did their best to humiliate them, humble the guy. I went to a game last year when they played Baylor. From my viewpoint, I'm not like a talent scout or anything like that, but I think he could play in the NFL. So just to see him continue to drop, was very surprising to me. A lot of teams thought needed him as a quarterback. Steelers, for example, I was shocked that they didn't pick him. Round three, second day goes on, they didn't pick him. I was just like, wow, scratch on my head. I texted you, like I said, I don't know if he's gonna get drafted. I don't think he's gonna get drafted. Then he finally did. You had guys. I was watching a lot of the ESPN coverage. Mel Kiper was going crazy, beating the drum for Shedeur Sanders, basically saying like, "What is going on? The NFL has been getting it wrong for 50 years on evaluating quarterbacks." But there was a lot of people who thought this was deserved. There's stories coming out that he didn't have good interviews. I was reading a story today about how Brian Daboll had an interview with him and it didn't go so well. He was basically asking about strategies and things like that, and Shedeur couldn't come up with any good answers or something like that. And they came out the meeting not liking each other or something like that. But what could go wrong did go wrong, man. You like you said, the prank call. I thought that was kind of classless, tasteless, in my opinion. I didn't really like it too much. Some people found it funny. And then I want to give a shout out to Shedeur Sanders. I was watching some of his stream that he was doing on Twitch and stuff like that, and he was trying to make jokes, keep things lighthearted. He had one funny joke where he's basically was like, man, if they do you like this, I already know how they're gonna do me. And I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, man, it was just crazy. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this as a player. It was between him and Cam Ward as who's the best quarterback in the draft. Cam Ward with number one overall, and then Travis Hunter with second. The Jaguars trading the Browns to get that pick, and then I'm thinking, okay, Shedeur is gonna go somewhere in the top 10. I had a feeling maybe the Browns didn't want to do it, but I thought maybe the Giants or the Raiders or somebody like that. But after that first 10 pass, I didn't hear his name called. I was like, okay. Well, there's the Steelers' 21st pick. They'll for sure get him. Yep. Steelers name called. They drafted a defensive tackle, if I'm not mistaken. And then after that, it was just the wheels fell off, man. But like I said, I really do think that the ratings, I'm interested to see how the numbers are. I feel like a lot of people started to tune in and see, okay, is he getting drafted? Who's going to draft him? Or is he not getting drafted at all? Like I said, I thought after the second day that I thought he was going to get drafted. But it even made it to the White House. President Trump, he has his social platform where he was basically talking about it. They had a one of their media press conferences a day where the press secretary basically was like, "Yeah, our president said something about it, and a few rounds later, he got picked." So, I mean, maybe he did have something. Maybe his attention, the president's attention on it, was like, "Okay, let's get this guy." And another thing I want to say, if you watch the draft reactions, I'm not even sure the Browns wanted to draft him because Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, every most of the other picks, they were, clapping their hands, smiling and stuff when the pick got called. they call Shedeur Sanders' name, they looking like me right now. It's like,
Yep.
Andrew Berry was like, yeah, well, he'll have to prove himself. We'll see how it goes. So I'm not even sure they wanted to draft him, and it's just a head scratcher to me because they drafted the quarterback Dylan Gabriel in the third round, I believe, and I was just like, so you got Kenny Pickett, then you draft Dylan Gabriel, you draft Dylan Gabriel, and then in the fifth round you draft Shedeur. I think they have what 5 quarterbacks right now on the roster, so it's just really a head scratcher. The whole thing was kind of a circus, in my opinion. But he's drafted now. I'm happy his brother got picked up for a team now, and now it's just kind of all of him to just prove people wrong and see what he can do out there. I think these preseason games when they finally come, it's going to be a highly rated too, just to see a lot of people want to see how he does out there. But what are your thoughts on that thing, man?
Yeah, a couple quick points. You mentioned Mel Kiper Jr. He, I think, had Shedeur as his number one quarterback throughout this process. So shout out to him. And then the Steelers draft pick that they picked in the first round over Shedeur Sander, and we'll talk more about this. I will in our off season in the summer, heading into the regular season. Their defensive tackle Harmon, I believe his name is. Condolences to his family. His mother was in, I believe, ICU or critical condition for several weeks. He was able to rush over to the hospital right after he got drafted, let her know that that he got drafted, and she did pass away moments later, or within the same 24 hours of him getting drafted. So I hope he balls out next year, except for against my Ravens, of course. But yeah, I hope he does do his thing, and he does have a good tutor there. But again, I'll talk more about him later in the summer. But as for Shedeur Sanders, shame on the Giants. Number one, I'd been saying pretty much since the back end of last year when the draft order was kind of finalized, or the early part of 2025, if the Giants don't go Shedeur Sanders, they're going to go Jackson Dart because he's from Ole Miss and Eli Manning played there. Shame on him because, as I mentioned, shame on the Giants because, as I mentioned to you, the protocol right now, the hot quarterbacks right now are the black athletic quarterbacks. Shedeur is athletic. You've seen him play live in person. I've seen him on TV. We've all seen it. He's dealt with an offensive line that was, horrendous. Pretty much the 2 years at Colorado, he had to rebuild the program there at Jackson State. There's no reason why he shouldn't have been a first-round quarterback. I'm lost why the Saints, the Browns, the first go-around, Rams, Jets, Colts, they could have used a quarterback too. And, of course, the Steelers, as you mentioned, they didn't take him. I know the Jets have Justin Fields, but are you 100% sold on them? I wouldn't be as a Browns fan. As a Jets fan or a coach. You mentioned the Raiders as well. Geno Smith, I think he's a solid guy, but he's in his 30s. He's been bounced around by a couple teams lately, so we'll see how that goes. But Shedeur in Cleveland, as you mentioned, you forgot your boy Joe Flacco, as you call him. And a lot of guys I was watching on NFL Network, they was like, he should just be set in as the number 2 quarterback. And if they have to use him, if they see that Kenny Pickett, Gabriel, or Sanders can't win that starting job, then we have somebody that's reliable, that knows the system there. He was just there a couple years ago that can go start. But I feel like either Shedeur can be the starter, he could win that starting job, or he won't make the roster at all. That's my thoughts at this moment. Of course, we got rookie minicamps coming up. Of course, OTAs, training camp, all that kind of stuff, and we'll see how it develops. But I don't feel like there's an in-between for him. I don't feel like there's a second or third quarterback spot on this roster for him. You still got to factor in the part that, and I'm sure there's a way that with Deshaun Watson, that with all the money he's making, he's still going to be on the roster. Yes, he won't be listed as a quarterback. I think there's like an injury designation that they can give him to where they'll have, they can still have 53 men on the roster and not have him on there. But you still have him on the roster one way or another, whether he comes back middle of the season, end of the season, or next season. Obviously, they're not going to probably him starting games again. But yeah, 5 quarterbacks. That's a crowded quarterback room, even if you count the 4. But yeah, I hope Shedeur Sanders balls out as well. Except for the 2 or possibly 3 games if they do make the playoffs and we play them in the playoffs against the Ravens. When he plays us, give us a couple interceptions. But other than that, go win Rookie of the Year, Shedeur, especially if you're starting.
Yeah, man. Good luck to him.
Yeah, definitely. All right.